Lena Calloway, the daughter of a wealthy and powerful real estate mogul, has always lived a life of luxury. But when her mother, Miriam Calloway, catches her in a scandal, she devises the ultimate punishment, forcing Lena to marry a poor, humble farmer. Little does Miriam know, the choice she made would lead to the unraveling of long-buried family secrets, betrayal, and love in the most unexpected places. The revelation that awaits will shake their lives forever. Miriam Calloway is a woman of grace and strength. A self-made millionaire, she built an empire from nothing after being abandoned by her own family. Wealth has made her cold and calculating, and she believes that success and power are the ultimate goals in life. Her daughter Lena, on the other hand, grew up in a world of extravagance, having everything handed to her, and Miriam despises this weakness she sees in Lena. Miriam demands perfection, and she wants her daughter to live up to the Calloway name by any means necessary. Lena, 22 years old, has lived her entire life under the pressure of her mother's expectations. She's beautiful, lively, and rebellious, frequently defying her mother's rigid rules. Yet deep down, Lena craves something more than the opulence and social status her mother values. She yearns for love, freedom, and a life that feels true to herself. But it is a desire she's never voiced to Miriam, knowing how deeply her mother would disapprove. One evening, Lena attends a lavish gala hosted by one of her mother's business associates. It's there that she meets Julian, a charismatic and wealthy entrepreneur. They share a whirlwind romance filled with glitz and glamour, and Lena is swept off her feet. But soon enough, Miriam catches wind of their affair and is livid. She knows Julian well and despises him for his greed and insincerity, qualities Miriam herself once had to use to climb to the top. In her eyes, Julian is just using Lena to further his own ambitions. After a heated confrontation, Lena boldly declares that she intends to marry Julian. Furious and feeling betrayed, Miriam comes up with a drastic plan to teach Lena a lesson she will never forget. In a cold, calculated move, Miriam forces Lena to break off her engagement to Julian and instead marry a humble farmer, a man who lives in stark contrast to the opulence Lena has always known. Enter Caleb Harper, a quiet, modest man who owns a small farm on the outskirts of town. He's hardworking, kind, and deeply connected to the land he works. Caleb's father was once a business partner of Miriam's, but after a series of tragic events, the two families fell out of touch. Caleb is in debt, struggling to keep the farm running, and when Miriam offers him a large sum of money in exchange for marrying Lena, he agrees, not out of desire but out of obligation to save the farm. Lena is devastated when she learns of her mother's plan. She feels trapped, powerless, and angry, but with no means of disobeying her mother, she agrees to the marriage. Lena's arrival at Caleb's farm is nothing short of a culture shock. Gone are the silk sheets, marble floors, and endless luxuries. Instead, she finds herself in a modest farmhouse with creaking floors, dirt under her fingernails, and a life of hard labor she has never known. Caleb is distant, almost indifferent, treating Lena as though she's a stranger in his home. He knows she didn't choose this life, and he refuses to force her into it. At first, Lena resents Caleb. She blames him for being part of her mother's scheme and looks down on his simple way of life. Caleb, in turn, sees Lena as spoiled, incapable of understanding the meaning of true hard work. They barely speak to one another, and their marriage remains cold and empty. But slowly, things begin to change. One afternoon, after a harsh storm damages part of the farm, Lena sees Caleb working tirelessly to repair the damage. She watches as he puts every ounce of effort into protecting the land he loves, even at the cost of his own well-being. For the first time, Lena feels a pang of empathy. She sees the depth of Caleb's character and realizes he isn't just a pawn in her mother's game, he's a man with dreams, struggles, and pain of his own. As weeks turn into months, Lena and Caleb begin to forge an unexpected connection. Lena starts helping out on the farm, learning to plant crops, tend to animals, and embrace a life of simplicity. She finds a strange sense of fulfillment in the hard work, something she never experienced in her glamorous city life. Caleb, meanwhile, begins to soften toward Lena, seeing her not as a spoiled heiress but as a woman who is trying to adapt to a world that's foreign to her. Yet beneath the surface, tension still simmers. Lena misses her old life, her friends, and the future she once envisioned. And Caleb, though kind, is haunted by a secret he has kept hidden for years, a secret that involves Lena's mother. One evening, while cleaning out the old farmhouse, Lena stumbles upon a box of letters hidden away in the attic. The letters are addressed to Miriam Calloway, and they are from Caleb's father. As Lena reads through the letters, she is shocked to discover that Caleb's father was once deeply in love with her mother. The letters reveal a passionate affair that ended in heartbreak when Miriam chose her career and wealth over love. Stunned, Lena confronts Caleb about the letters. Caleb admits that he knew about the affair but never told Lena because he didn't want to burden her with the truth. Caleb's father never recovered from Miriam's rejection, and the family farm fell into decline as a result. Caleb reveals that his agreement to marry Lena wasn't just about saving the farm, it was also a way to confront the pain his family had endured because of Miriam's actions. The revelation sends Lena into a spiral of confusion and anger. She feels betrayed by both Caleb and her mother, and she questions everything she thought she knew about her family. In a moment of desperation, Lena decides to leave the farm and return to the city, determined to confront her mother once and for all. When Lena arrives at her mother's mansion, the confrontation is explosive. Lena accuses Miriam of destroying Caleb's family and using her as a pawn in a cruel game. Miriam, however, remains unapologetic. She admits to the affair but claims she had no choice, she needed to choose power and success to survive in a world that offered her nothing. Miriam insists that she did what was necessary to secure Lena's future, and she dismisses Caleb and his family as collateral damage. Lena is horrified by her mother's coldness and lack of remorse. For the first time in her life, Lena sees Miriam not as a powerful, invincible figure, but as a deeply flawed and broken woman. She realizes that her mother's obsession with control has cost them both dearly. But Lena is also conflicted. Despite everything, she still loves her mother and struggles to break free from her influence. In a moment of clarity, Lena makes a decision. She tells Miriam that she's leaving for good, choosing a life of her own, away from her mother's control. Miriam is stunned, and for the first time, she shows a crack in her icy exterior. She begs Lena not to leave, but Lena stands firm. She returns to the farm, ready to embrace the life she has chosen. Back at the farm, Lena and Caleb's relationship takes on a new depth. They both carry the scars of their pasts, but they also find healing in one another. Lena finally understands the value of hard work, love, and resilience, and Caleb learns to open his heart and let go of the bitterness he once held toward her family. Months pass, and Lena and Caleb's farm begins to flourish. Together, they build a life that is rooted in honesty, love, and mutual respect. Lena is no longer the spoiled heiress she once was, she's a woman who has found her true self. As the story comes to a close, Miriam Calloway's empire begins to crumble. Her ruthless business tactics catch up with her, and she is forced to face the consequences of her actions. Alone and without the daughter she once controlled, Miriam reflects on the choices she made and the love she lost. In the end, Lena and Caleb's love triumphs over the greed, manipulation, and betrayal that once defined their lives. They find happiness not in wealth or power, but in the simple, profound connection they share. And as they stand together on the farm, watching the sun set over the fields, they know that they have created a future that is truly their own. The story of Lena and Caleb is one of transformation, redemption, and the power of love to overcome even the darkest of pasts. It reminds us that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the relationships we build and the lives we touch. The end.